There's something no one told me when I was young, that one day I'd be sitting here in this house that witnessed so much laughter and so many shouts, staring at the clock on the wall and feeling that time no longer flows as it once did, but drags on, slow and heavy, as if each second weighed more than the last. I retired several years ago, and everyone congratulated me, told me I was finally going to rest, that I was going to enjoy life, that I deserved that time for myself. And I smiled, thanked them, toasted with them, but I never told them what it really feels like when you realize that the rest you so longed for can become the loudest noise you've ever heard, the noise of silence, because that's what I hide. Even from my best friends, even from the people I love most, that retirement wasn't the reward they promised me, but a giant mirror where I was forced to look at everything I let slip by, everything I didn't say, everything I didn't do when I still had the time. Let me tell you something you may never have considered. When you're working, running around, complaining about your boss, the traffic, the exhaustion, the endless meetings, there's a part of you that thinks that when all that's over, when you finally don't have to wake up to an alarm at 6 a.m, everything will be all right. You'll read those books you left piled on your nightstand. You'll travel to those places you marked on the map. You'll spend more time with your family. You'll learn to paint, to play guitar, to do all those things you always said you'd do if only you had the time. But what they don't tell you, what nobody tells you, because maybe they don't even know it themselves until it happens to them, is that when that moment arrives, when you finally have all the time in the world, you realize that empty time isn't freedom, it's an abyss. And I fell into that abyss without realizing it one ordinary Tuesday when I woke up and realized that I had nowhere to go, no meetings to attend, no pending tasks, and instead of feeling relief, I felt panic. Listen carefully to what I'm about to tell you, because this is something I learned after many years of living with this secret. Retirement doesn't give you time. It gives back all the time you didn't use well. It confronts you with all the conversations you didn't have, all the hugs you didn't give, all the times you chose work over a family dinner, all the promises you made to yourself and never kept. And I had many broken promises. I promised I would travel with my partner when we had more time, but when that time came, we had nothing left to talk about because we had let routine and exhaustion devour all our words. I promised I would spend more time with my children when I stopped working, but when I stopped working, they already had their own lives, their own families, their own jobs that kept them busy from Monday to Sunday. I promised I would take care of my health, that I would exercise, that I would eat better, but I let so many years go by neglecting myself that now my body reminds me every day of everything I didn't do for it. There are days when I sit on the sofa and look at the photographs I have all over the living room, birthday photos, graduation photos, Christmas photos, photos from casual trips, and I wonder where I really was in those moments. Because yes, physically I was there, smiling for the camera, holding a cake, hugging someone, but my mind was elsewhere. Worried about the project I had to hand in on Monday, the bill that didn't add up, the argument I'd had with a coworker, and now that I have all the time in the world to look at those photos, I realize that in many of them my smile didn't reach my eyes, that my children were looking at me hoping I was truly present, not just physically. And that's something I can't change. I can't go back and tell that younger version of myself to stop, to breathe, to look around and understand that that moment isn't coming back. If I could go back, I swear I would do so many things differently. I wouldn't worry so much about being right in every argument. I wouldn't let pride stop me from apologizing when I was wrong. I wouldn't wait until it was too late to tell the people I love how much they mean to me, because now I understand something I didn't see before, that time doesn't wait, that the people you love won't be there forever, that one day you'll want to have one more conversation with someone and it won't be possible anymore. And that hurts more than anything else, more than any illness, more than any material loss. It hurts to know that you had opportunities and you let them pass because you thought there would always be time, because you believed that tomorrow or next week or next year you were going to do what you wanted to do. You were going to say what you wanted to say. Today I live in this house that used to be filled with voices, laughter, arguments, doors opening and closing, music drifting from the rooms, the smell of freshly cooked food, life itself. And now it's so quiet that sometimes I'm startled by the sound of my own footsteps. My children come to visit me from time to time, on Sundays, maybe once every 2 weeks if they're lucky and not too busy. And when they come, I try hard not to tell them everything I feel, not to tell them that I miss them every day, that the house feels empty without them, that I wish they could stay a little longer, call me more often, because I don't want to be a burden. I don't want them to feel they have to come see me out of obligation. But the truth is, every time they leave, I feel a little more alone, a little more invisible, as if my life were already over and I were just waiting for the rest of the world to realize it. And I know this sounds sad. I know you might be thinking, I'm just a bitter old woman who complains, but that's not it. I'm not trying to make you feel sorry for me. I'm trying to teach you a lesson I learned too late. I'm trying to tell you not to put off until tomorrow what you can do today. Not because it's a cliche, but because it's true. Don't stop calling that person you love just because you're tired. Don't stop hugging your children just because you're in a hurry. Don't stop saying, I love you, just because you think they already know. Because there comes a day when you realize that everything you thought was important, work, money, success, recognition, means nothing if you don't have someone to share it with, if you don't have true memories to hold on to when there's no one else left. I retired thinking I'd find peace, but what I found was noise, an internal noise that never stops, the noise of all my regrets, all my missed opportunities. And I try to fill it with activities, with knitting groups, with yoga classes for seniors, with volunteering at church, with anything that makes me feel useful, that makes me feel I still have a purpose. But the truth is, none of it fills the void of having lived so long on autopilot, of having let the years slip by without truly living them. And now here I am, with all the time in the world and no one to truly share it with. There are nights when I can't sleep and I lie awake staring at the ceiling, replaying conversations I never had, replaying decisions I made without thinking, replaying all the times I chose to be somewhere else instead of being present where I was. And I wonder what would have happened if things had been different, if I'd had the courage to say no when they asked me to work overtime, if I'd had the wisdom to understand that my children would grow up fast and those years would never come back, if I'd had the humility to ask for help when I felt lost instead of pretending everything was fine. But I can't change the past. I can only live with it. I can only learn from it and try to be better now, even though it's so late now. I'm going to tell you something I've never told anyone, not even my children. There was a time many years ago when I was about to quit my job to dedicate more time to my family. I had a young son then, and every day he asked me to stay home, to play with him, to take him to the park. And I always told him later, tomorrow, on the weekend. And one day I came home and found him crying in his bed, and when I asked him what was wrong, he told me that he wanted a mom who was really there for him, not a mom who was always thinking about work. And that hurt me so much, it broke my heart in a way I can't even describe. And for a moment I thought about quitting, about leaving everything, about dedicating myself to being the mom he deserved. But I was afraid of not having enough money, afraid of depending on someone else, afraid of losing my independence, afraid of regretting it later. And I chose to stay at my job. And my son stopped asking me to stay, stopped crying, stopped waiting for me. And I kept working, kept running, kept believing I was doing the right thing. And maybe at that moment it was the right thing to do. Maybe there was no other option, but that doesn't make it hurt any less. Now that son is grown, he has his own life, his own family. And when I see him playing with his children, being the father I couldn't be, I feel proud. But I also feel sad because I know he learned to be present with his children precisely because I wasn't with him. And that's something I'll carry with me until the day I die. And I know he doesn't hold a grudge against me. I know he understands that I did the best I could with what I had, but I do hold a grudge against myself because there was another option. There always is another option. It's just that sometimes we don't see it because we're too scared, too proud, too busy. Retirement taught me that life isn't a race, even though I lived it as if it were for so many years. It taught me that it doesn't matter how hard you work, how much you earn, or how much you achieve, if, at the end of the day, you don't have someone to share a cup of coffee with in silence. It taught me that the little things, the ones I always put off, are actually the greatest. A leisurely conversation, a long hug, a shared laugh, a walk without a destination, a dinner without looking at the clock. Those are the things that matter. Those are the things that keep you company when there's nothing left. And now that I'm here, at this stage of my life where each day matters more than the last, I'm trying to make peace with my past, trying to forgive myself for everything I didn't do, for everything I didn't say. I'm trying to accept that I can't change what's already happened, but I can learn from it. And the most important thing I've learned is this, that time can't be recovered, that people don't wait, that life passes you by while you're busy doing other things, and that if you don't stop every now and then to look around you, to hug the people you love, to say what you feel, to truly live, one day you'll wake up and realize that everything you had is gone, and all you have left are memories of a life you only half lived. So if there's one thing I want you to take away from this conversation, one thing I want you to understand before it's too late, it's this. Don't wait until retirement to live. Don't wait until you have free time to do what you want to do. Don't wait for the perfect moment to say what you want to say, because the perfect moment doesn't exist, and the time you have now is the only time you truly have. So use it well, use it with the people you love, use it doing things that make you feel alive, use it being the person you want to be, not the person you think you have to be to please others or to meet expectations that may not even be your own. And if you make mistakes along the way, that's okay. We all make mistakes, but at least you'll make mistakes by living, not mistakes by not having lived. At least you'll have stories to tell, true memories, moments that were worthwhile, and that's so much more than I can say now, sitting here looking back and seeing so many empty spaces, so many silences where there should be words, so many absences where there should be presence. I don't want you to end up like me, staring at the clock and wishing you could turn back time. I want you to live each day as if it were your only one, because one day it will be. I want you to hug the people you love, tell them how important they are, spend time with them without distractions, without your phone in your hand, without thinking about work or bills or what you have to do tomorrow. I want you to understand that in the end, the only thing that truly matters is the love you gave and the love you received, and that everything else, everything that worries you so much now, will fade away with time. So here's my secret, the one I hide even from my closest friends. Retirement didn't bring me the peace I expected. It brought me the most painful clarity I've ever experienced. It showed me everything I lost by being too busy chasing things that ultimately didn't matter. And now I live with that clarity, with that weight, trying to make the best of the time I have left. And if my story can help someone else avoid making the same mistakes, then perhaps it will all have been worth it.